wasting all my life. Tired of wasting all my life. Think it's time to get it right.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Pretty Purposeful podcast. I'm your host, Angee Gonzalez, and today's episode is all about redefining and shifting our perspective so that we can thrive. So as the new year approaches, I started to think about what resolutions I could come up with. And, you know, in order for you to create a resolution or some type of goal for the future, you have to reflect on the year past. And in some cases, you may even have to look back on the last 3 to 5 years. You may even want to go back even further than that, look over your whole life and say, you know, am I where I want to be for the age that I am? My birthday is approaching next month. So every year, because my birthday is in January, I do have an opportunity to reflect back on my life, on my goals, and to see, am I where I thought I would be for the age? And a lot of times I'm not, but I have to also keep in perspective that the world changes so rapidly today. And so the things that I may have thought I would be doing back then, you know, there has been a lot of changes that require you to shift and change your goals and be able to adapt accordingly. And so that's really what this episode is about. So if, you know, you're someone who's been overwhelmed by, you know, how fast the world is moving with AI technology, with the way that businesses operate, you know, with many people working remotely now, or if you're someone who is just excited about all of these changes, this episode is for you. So go get yourself a drink, a snack, come on back, and let's get into this episode. This segment is all about redefining what matters. And one thing I know in my own personal journey is that I have had to rediscover myself time and time again. And it wasn't easy when I was back home in Pittsburgh, where I grew up. And I think that, you know, one thing I learned about growing and developing is, you know, sometimes you outgrow the circumstances that you're in. Sometimes you outgrow friend groups that you're in. You have to know when to pivot and when to shift your perspective. See, it's all about a mindset. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where most of my family is. I could have easily stayed there because it was comfortable and familiar. But what I found is that, you know, in order for me to grow and to rediscover myself, I kept being reminded of where I came from. And while it is good to not forget where you came from, you don't want to stay stuck there. And some people, when you start making progress, even though it's an uncomfortable journey for you, a lot of times the people that have been in your life, it's uncomfortable for them to watch you. So I decided that it was time for me to leave Pittsburgh because I was starting to grow beyond people that I was surrounded by, pursue my degree. I just feel that I would have encountered drama, negativity, and just past reminders, you know, of where I came from. And that can be discouraging. And, you know, some people set out to purposely sabotage you. Sometimes it's your own family. So I made a tough decision. And, you know, while it was tough, there was one event that happened that really sealed the deal for me. True story. At the time, I was managing a contact center for a health plan in Pittsburgh. While I had already encountered some interesting situations there just because of my past, I used to bartend, I used to date a drug dealer back in the day. We're talking like 15, 20 years prior. And now there's people in this contact center that I'm managing that knew me from that time, right? So it was a little awkward. But the thing that sealed the deal for me was one day, myself and a coworker were at a bus stop. And out of nowhere, this girl that used to go to this bar that I used to hang at, she yelled to me out the window, "What's up, bitch? I ain't seen you in a long time." I was so embarrassed, y'all. For the light change, she was like, "Hurry up, give me your number before the light change." And I just looked at her and was like, if looks could kill, the way she looked at me, she was swole. But we didn't have anything in common anymore. To be honest with you, back when I used to hang in the bar, I didn't really have much in common with her then either. But now I had discovered who I was, defined my boundaries, I was enforcing it. So I was making over $80,000 at the time. There was nobody else that I knew, whether it was family members or anybody close to me that was making that amount of money. And I was driving Uber on the weekends, okay? I felt like if I would have stayed in Pittsburgh, in that familiar place, I would have been setting myself up to be a target, to be sabotaged, and to not grow. That situation for me was like, okay, you got to go somewhere where you can grow and it won't be a big deal. You have to go somewhere where everybody else is thriving so much that they're not paying attention to what you're doing, so much that they're not counting your dollars. And what other place than Atlanta, Georgia? When I came to Atlanta, I always felt at home. I felt grounded. It was awesome to see Black people, successful Black people, thriving, that I had to shift my perspective in order to get out of my hometown, in order to grow. If there's anything that you're thinking about that you want to do, just look around and look at your circumstances. Is there people in your life that are, holding you back? Do you feel obligated to do certain things that you really don't want to do? Do you keep re-encountering the same type of situations over and over? Why am I dealing with this person? Why am I staying at this job? Sometimes the things that hold us back are fear-based. And that was something that I had to confront before moving to Atlanta. And I said, what do I have to lose? I've already been through hell in my hometown, and I persevered, I survived. If I want to make it to be I don't want to say old lady, but if I want to, if I want to be here for a long time and be able to continue to grow, because I know I haven't reached the height of my success. I knew I had much more to do. It wasn't going to happen in Pittsburgh for me. Now, that's not everybody's story. Some people may, have a hometown or an area that they live in where they may be affluent, they may have a support system, a family, that their hometown is not really a risk for them. In my situation, I knew that I had a lot more in me that I really was incapable of doing effectively in my hometown, because I didn't have the support system that I needed. And hey, if I don't have the support system in my hometown, let me clarify something, okay? I love Pittsburgh. I don't want to sound bitter, and I don't want to sound like I don't love my hometown, because I do. And I do still have family member and friends there. What I'm trying to say is that my unique circumstances, stemming from my, family dynamic, to times of popularity where, I had a lot of eyes on me, a lot of, I was involved in a lot. Good, and I don't want to say bad, but I'll just say I was very well known. And so when you're well known for something and you're trying to grow and shift and, pursue education and a career, a lot of times those people that know you, they're not really going to be supportive of that, because what you were doing before was serving them. I had to make that decision. And it was, it was a little scary at first, but I realized that as long as I stayed in my hometown, people are going to continue to see me as that young lady that was in the bar all the time, whether she was working or she was dating someone who was always in the bar. And that was just not who I was anymore. And so if you are thinking about pursuing something, whether it be your career or you want to do something different in your life, maybe take up a new hobby, whatever it is, take the risk, shift your perspective. What do you have to lose? You only get one life. So yeah, as we come to the end of 2023, self-reflection is paramount. Before you can even begin reflecting on yourself, you have to know the purpose behind it. So over here at the Pretty Purposeful podcast, we are living life on purpose, with purpose, for a greater purpose. And so we want to be purposeful in all that we do. That's the motto. I'm standing on that. Be purposeful in everything you do. It's possible. It is very possible. It's a framework. Let me just say, being purposeful keeps you out of trouble. Doesn't mean you're going to avoid trouble, but it keeps you from intentionally putting yourself in trouble. Are y'all ready for Christmas? I mean, I still can't believe 2023 is over already. But I say that every year. Like, all the more reason for us to live in the moment and enjoy every moment that we get. You know, this time of year, it is supposed to be a time of joy and celebration, but let's be real. You know, sometimes it's not all jolly and bright, especially if you're dealing with loss, financial issues, or just loneliness. So here's my take. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not take the matching pajama pictures. It's okay to not spend what you don't have. You know, handmade gifts, thoughtful gestures, or even just spending time with someone can be far more precious than anything bought. So, y'all, 'tis the season for us to shift our focus to what truly matters. Genuine connections and moments of joy, not material possessions or people on the internet's opinions about what you got for Christmas. Let's be kind to ourselves. Let's create some new meaningful traditions, and remember, it's okay to seek help if you need it. Being stylish is all about embracing your unique self, and Lala's Closet is here to help you do just that. Visit lalasclosetatl.com and check out the fantastic finds they have waiting for you. Start writing some things down. You know, if you're like me, I'm old school. I like to keep a notepad somewhere close by and just jot down some reflections from the year, you know, some goals that you achieved. You can even break it down into 2 columns. You know, one column be, you know, what did you achieve this year and what was amiss for you this year? What were the reasons why? So you can actually go into the new year and know, I want to continue doing this because this worked for me. This allowed me to accomplish my goals. And then the things that you weren't able to accomplish. As time goes on, you know, new opportunities come about. New information creates new opportunities. New connections create new opportunities. As long as you know what your goals are, then you can make sure that you're aligning yourself with people who will add value to what you already have going on. A lot of times what I will do is I will create a vision board. Once I do my reflecting, I take all of my takeaways from my reflections, you know, my notes. I will then work on creating a vision board. For me, being creative is also a form of self-care because it's therapeutic. Take some time out. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. You know, you can get you a poster board from Walmart, or hey, you don't have to get a super, you know, huge poster board. You can actually get some smaller versions and just do a smaller version of a poster board, but something that you can have as a visual reminder that you can throughout the year reflect on, look at, see, okay, have I accomplished this? Did I accomplish that? How close am I? How is that still a realistic goal for me? Some things may not be realistic for you anymore. Girl, you heard about that new clothing line called Diversity Drip? No, girl, what's that? Girl, it is all about celebrating our unique mix. They have stylish clothing, accessories, they even have stuff for your car. I know you lying. Oh, for real. Go to diversitydrip.com right now. I'm telling you, you're gonna love what you see. They got that drip. They got that drip. They got that drip. Diversity Drip Apparel, where your style tells your story. I just really wanted to touch base with you all before we head into the new year, and just to kind of help you get your head into a space of how you want to approach New Year's resolution. I'll say for me, and I've said this a couple times in the past few years, my resolution has been to just be. When I say just be, it's really just showing up as authentically as I possibly can. I'm saying flaws and all, like our girl Beyonce says, but none of us are perfect. And so being able to give myself grace. I am a perfectionist, and that's something that I continue to work on, is catching myself from being a perfectionist, because a lot of times if you are a perfectionist, that can hold you back. It can, in some cases, if you keep trying to perfect something, you can become discouraged after a while by thinking that it's not good enough to the world in whatever way that shows up. It's more about the intent. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about purposeful execution, right? But I mean, when it comes to actually taking action, sometimes we don't if we sit back and think too long, we won't do anything at all, right? Some people sit back and they think about the what ifs, and they allow that to discourage them. So for me, I have to just keep reminding myself that it is the intent behind my action. Me wanting to put this podcast out here, it's not just about me. It's about sharing my life experiences, my insights, my wisdom with someone out there who may not have access to it. And it may help somebody avoid some of the different situations that I've had to endure. This podcast is not about being the best podcast in terms of editing or even content, because the content is coming directly from my heart. My hope is to build a community of like-minded people. And hopefully someday, somebody may share my podcast with someone that they know would benefit from, the contents. Yeah, going into 2024, it's less about perfection and more about purpose for me. As I wrap up this episode, again, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for supporting my podcast. This is a new venture for me. It's something that I've been trying to get off the ground for a few years now. And, everybody moves at a different pace. I'm not going to give myself any negative self-talk and talk myself out of doing this podcast. The experiences that I've endured through life were not in vain. And this platform right here allows me to turn my pain into purpose. And so I encourage each of you, in whatever platform you have, it may not be a podcast, it may not be social media, you may be influential in your family, you may be influential in your neighborhood. Whatever community that you have, whatever capacity you have the ability to shift and impact positive change, I say go for it. And don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about getting it right. Before I sign off of here again, I just want to remind you all that this is a safe space. I am really in the beginning phases of growing this community, and I just want everybody to feel welcome. I'm really looking forward to hearing you all's feedback. I would love to know what topics you would like me to talk about. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I thank you all in advance for your support. I hope you all have a safe New Year's Eve. You guys, no drinking and driving. Make sure you get a designated driver or you use rideshare. But however you bring in the new year, I hope that you come into the new year with a lot of love in your heart. And I wish you all peace and prosperity in 2024. We are more than just pretty faces over here. We are living life on purpose, with purpose, for a greater purpose, one episode at a time. You might have noticed some audio hiccups, a couple ums, and maybe some choppy moments in this episode. But you know what? That's all part of the process, and learning and growing is the name of the game here. So as we move forward, I will fine-tune my podcasting skills, and my episodes will become better, polished, and they'll be longer. This is a platform that I really want to use to advocate and just be purposeful in the world.